Hello, welcome to Saturday Service, a podcast all about faith and football with me, Graham Boozy, in association with the Welsh Churches in Southend-on-Sea. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Kieran Garland from Dream Centre Wales. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you very much. Thanks for joining me. Just to begin with, would you mind just giving a little general introduction to yourself?
I'm Kieran Garland. I'm playing for a new team that's starting up in the South Wales Welsh Football Churches League, DCWFC. It's a young team of young boys from the valleys, and it's basically just us trying to get around young males from the valleys area, knowing that this day and age it's not seen as a positive thing to be in church, and we want to try and kind of change that outlook and become a bit more mainstream with our church and a bit more youth based. And I think football is the perfect opportunity really to kind of go into that and dig a bit deeper. Like,
Definitely, I think football's a great bit of outreach. Obviously, we'll go into that with you a bit more detail later on. Just first of all, though, I always really like to dig down into people's origins and how they first got interested in football. Obviously, being in South Wales, I don't know if you support one of the three big teams around you, but I just wondered, what was the first match or player that really captured your imagination and made you really get into football?
from when I was younger, it's always been a sport that I've pursued. My family has played it. My grandfather played football at a decent level. He used to play for Tonaghelli and Tom Bento when they were at the decent level around South Wales, where they'd go and play teams in England and so on. And I always grew up watching my father play, and I've just grown up surrounded by football, and it's been a sport that I've always looked into. I didn't grow up in a Christian household, but I did grow up in a footballing household and a sports household that I just loved playing sports, loved doing things. So since I was young, I've always enjoyed watching football. I actually support Liverpool. I don't support one of the Welsh clubs, but if I was to choose one, I'd probably choose Cardiff because it's the closest to my living area. But I think the player I've always enjoyed watching is Lionel Messi. Has been the player I've enjoyed watching play football. I don't think I'm at that level. I'm definitely not the magic on the field. I'm more of a destruction player, as they would say. But it's definitely a player that I've enjoyed watching, and a player that just makes you, I think, fall in love with the game. When you watch him, he just does stuff that no one else can really do with a football. It's kind of bizarre.
And in terms of you playing, I take it you played from a very young age. My little bit of internet stalking tells me that you last season were playing for Penny Craig. Is that still the case, or are you going to move across to the Dream Centre team instead?
So I was playing for Pennygreg United. Well, I played for Pennygreg United since I was around 18, which is the South Wales Amateur Leagues. I've been here since I was younger. I've played with Pennygreg my entire life. That's where I grew up. They've been like my boyhood club, as you would say. But this season, me and the manager of DCWFC have both decided that we're going to move to DCWFC, and we're going to try and pioneer this kind of vision that we have for our ministry, and kind of the vision that we have for our boys that we're involved in, and the ministry to kind of take the next step in kind of what we have in mind for the kind of things that we have planned for the future.
Is there a particular moment in the game that sticks out to you as a really strong memory at all? I don't know. That could be supporting the national team, or supporting Liverpool. Is there something that you look back on and that was kind of like the pinnacle for you?
I think last season with Pennygrave, we entered the South Wales Amateur Trophy as a sixth tier club. I think one of the lowest in it, and managed to actually turn over some of the top teams in that competition, and actually get to the final as the lowest ever to reach the final. We didn't win. We lost to Port Talbot, but I think just the enjoyment of a cup run, I think that's something that just you see it in professionals when they go to the Champions League, or they go to the FA Cup, or they go anywhere in professional football. You see the cup run is the big thing. And I think even as an amateur football player, as a player who isn't at the heights of other players, I think like cup runs and that kind of energy you can get from going away and playing against a team you've never played against. And I think that's something that we've sold with DCWFC. Obviously, there's the National Churches Cup that we're so big on, because I've played a game in it before when I played for another team in the church league, and it was so enjoyable to go away, see how different churches run their football teams, play against them, have that national cup run, and hopefully go as far as we can in there and kind of build a bit of a trip around there. And I think that's just something that every football player looks at and goes, oh, if I could have a big cup run, that'll be one of the best memories I'll have in football. And I think that one last year was definitely my highlight of my footballing career.
You're something of a goal scoring defender by the looks of things, or was that just a particular run?
Uh, well, I think I get my fair share. I'm a pretty tall guy, so if I'm not using my height in the box when it comes to corners or free kicks and stuff, I think I'm a bit of a wasted talent if that's not my job. But yeah, last season I had a couple of goals. I think I had three or four, and one or two match winners, which I'll definitely celebrate. And then the season before, I actually ended up scoring five. I don't know how I managed it, but just right place at the right time rather than the bit of skill that everyone seems to think I have.
Yeah, I think no, definitely cup runs are one of the best things. Although I support Southend, and we very rarely had many cup runs. We got to the FA Trophy final, so that was something. If you don't mind, we can move on to the church itself.
Yeah.
Can you just give a general idea of the church, but also as well the context in which it sits, i.e., the sort of area, and how you sort of minister to that area, the vital part it clearly plays.
Our church is a young church, and the reason being is there's a ministry in the Rhondda Valleys called Sporting Marvels, and Sporting Marvels is a school-based ministry that goes into primary schools and teaches RE lessons and PSE lessons and PE lessons. So when I was in primary school, I got taught by Sporting Marvels. I went into comp and I got picked to be in their leadership program. And as I worked my way up, then towards the end of my school years, I was seen as someone who was quite confident and someone who was really outgoing and stuff. And they actually offered me a job with Sporting Marvels. And what kind of birthed out of that youth ministry in primary schools around the Rhondda is Dream Centre Wales. So they used to go to a different church. They used to connect to churches around the valleys, but rather now they've seen it as church is the heartbeat of what we think like God has planned for everything that we're going to do. And I think they've seen that as the mission number one now rather than the youth ministry. They want it to be church, and then everything else that comes with it comes off of our church. So our church is based in Ystrad in the Rhondda Valleys, which is right up in the top of the valleys, close to places like Penrith and stuff. If you research online, and you can read about the different challenges that people from the valleys obviously have with money financially, and also different things like drug use and going out and alcohol and all sorts of stuff that we see firsthand when we go into our schools, our area, the environment. When you're just out and about, you see firsthand how much of an impact that has on so many people around our area. And I think our church is there, and it's based for young people. We have a very young team. I think the oldest in our team is 32, 33, apart from the higher ups who work in the office, the CEO and different things. And the rest of us are pretty much 30 and under, and we work our way through different things, and we try our best to connect to the young generation in order to get them the best possible chance. I think it's a church that doesn't base itself so much on the black and white and the so much of telling them how they're meant to live. It's also, I think, we give the outlook of how if you're going through something, if you've been in a situation where you're in the situations of drug use, of alcohol, of relationship problems, we kind of give them the outlook of how you can fix that, how you can move on from that, how you can become someone who is turned around the corner and is trying to be a more positive person and trying to live for Christ and live in a way that Christ would want him to. And I think we try our best to not be judgmental, knowing that our valley is a very judgmental society and environment, that we need to be the people who kind of gives it a breath of fresh air and try and give these young guys the best possible chance to just be good, well-respected people. Try and give them the best possible opportunity to thrive in the different areas that they want to thrive in.
And that is the purpose of church, essentially. And I know it's changed a lot, but a team like Manchester City, for example, they were formed by a church in order to minister to the people in the area that were experiencing the same sort of social issues that you're sort of talking about. So it's a very good thing. Can you talk a little bit about the outreach and mission? You mentioned Sporting Marbles, obviously, which this came from, but I wonder if you could just share a little bit about your other sort of links in the community, like the Acts Community Church and Heart for Africa.
Yeah, so Heart for Africa is birthed out of our company as well. It's a charity that works in Tanzania, in East Africa, and I've had the privilege of actually going there three times since working for Sport Marvels. Once when I was in school around 16, 17, and then two times since working as a team member. And the charity works close in Arusha. We have a guy who's based out there who actually works for us. Our kind of coordinator is in Steve Owino, who is an amazing guy. Never sees the negatives in anything. Is always positive. Such a smiley person, and is like a breath of fresh air. And it's been a massive life changing experience that I've had, being able to go out there and see the work that we've done. And we always try our best to raise some money in different ways. We have another company who comes out of ours called Rhondda Netball, which is another sports company for netball girls, and it has one of the biggest participations in Britain for women's netball and women's sport. And them guys are all based in our church and in our ministries, and they are another set of people who don't go so much into the church side, but they just put a good role model in front of so many young girls around the valleys and try their best to set a good example and hope that they have the best possible chance. But the Heart for Africa one is a big one on my heart. I know a lot of people's hearts when it comes to how much of an impact you get from that place rather than you impacting it. I think being a young person who's gone out there and experienced it when I was 16, 17 changed my life in a lot of ways to understand, even though I live in a place that is classed as deprived in the UK, we're nowhere near as deprived as what they are. We're not even on the level. We probably don't even scratch the surface in terms of the level of deprivation is out there. And I think that charity has been absolutely amazing when I've watched it and seen the things that they do, like building community churches out in Africa, building wells, supplying schools with books and orphanages with cows and goats and chickens and different things, and just the things that you wouldn't really think, oh, that's what I need now in the valleys or in the UK. Out in Africa is something that changes lives. Getting a cow for an orphanage or getting a cow for a school will feed children for months and months and months. If they can have a cow that has a baby, it feeds them for years. It's really mad when you think of the different things that can have impact. And Art for Africa has been a real big impact on me, and I think on a lot of people that have been involved in it in the valleys. I know a lot of my friends from school who haven't gone the same route as me with church, but still think back to their Heart for Africa moments where they've been out surrounded by Christians who are so full of purpose and passion and have gone, they had something that I want and they can't put their finger on it. But obviously I have been able to put my finger on it and connect and plug myself into a church and realize that what they had was the purpose and the knowing of Christ, and obviously the goal to live their life for him. Like,
And can you just share a little bit about what your role is within the church as a crew leader and what sort of role that is that you fulfill?
so recently we've expanded our church into smaller groups. So we've realized that the core of our church is probably only as big as the people who we are trying to connect ourselves to more. So we've split ourselves into smaller groups or crews, as we call them. And I started off in a bit of an older one between the ages of probably 17 up to 22. And I was a bit in like a split leader role underneath Smithy, who was the manager of DCWFC. Me and Liam were in a split leader role, and we were kind of learning the ropes. And recently, about 2, 3 months ago, me and another one of my team members, Connor, have been given our own crew full of young 14, 15, 16-year-olds that are eager to be in and around conversations, want to learn more about how men struggle with things in church life, how men get through things that you're not really open to speak about on in a church setting. I think the crews are a lot about how you can speak about stuff that you wouldn't really say in a public setting. I think more personal upbringing conversations, more things about the different struggles and maybe myself and Connor have had. I know last Sunday, I did my own testimony in my crew, which I went a lot more deeper than I would have if I was in a church setting talking about my testimony. And I think it impacted them in a lot of ways where I've had messages off them saying how much they've learned from it, the different things that they can take away from it, the stuff that they know that they can come to me with, and the different things that they know they're not going to try and do in the future. And I think the crew's outreach has been massive for our churches. It's helped us to build a really good core and really good relationships with some of our younger guys and some of the guys in the church, to know that it's not just a Sunday thing, it's a lifestyle thing. And they know that whatever it is they're going through, I've probably done either worse or someone has done worse than what they've done. And they can come to us with whatever the problems are. If they don't think they can go and tell the people who are closest to them in their family and different things. And I think it's been massive for a lot of our guys to grow in confidence and in faith, learning about what God has done in people's life and how he's impacted them in massive ways.
I don't expect you to go into specifics, but can you share a little bit about how that the church impacts those young people's lives? And do you get to see young people who maybe are lacking in a bit of direction and a bit of purpose? Do you get to see them grow within the church?
Yeah, we've had people who have gone down different routes, maybe routes of obviously at young ages wanting to go drinking, or people who are going down the route of obviously the new big craze at the moment is vaping and all this other stuff, and just things that people kind of see as this cool new in thing, and it's starting to make them realize in different ways that it isn't all that it's made out to be. And I think I've seen young lads' lives change in their confidence. I've seen people go from reclusive and mutes who don't want to go and conversate with people, who don't want to have conversations with people, and after a few churches and a few crews, they're the life of a party. They're the centre of the room. They're talking to people about this. They want to solve this problem. They want to go and do this and that. And I think church has impacted so many young people around my area that it'd be bad for me not to go and give back to them young guys what I got given. And I think just taking myself, for example, with the different things I've experienced through mental health and through all sorts of different things with like attention problems, my past and my background and different things that I've gone through. And I think church has always been a consistent and the people in church have always been a consistent that have helped me to grow as a person, shave off the edges that I needed to shave off and become the man who I'm trying to be today. And obviously I still have downfalls. And I think that's a main part of our church is we always express that you're not going to be perfect. No one is. You just have to make sure you get up and you keep going no matter what happens in that period of life that you're going through. And I think that's been massive for them guys to know that when you come into church, you don't have to be squeaky clean. You can come in dirty. And that's the whole point of church is for the people to then come to church and you get some sort of purpose and you feel more blessed and a lot more cool once you've been in that room and know that everyone there is broken, everyone there is messed up, and in reality, we're all on the same boat in the end.
So yeah, if we could move on to the football ministry of the church, I'm really passionate about this sort of thing because it's how I came to church was through football. Was it born out? You mentioned the National Cup. I think it's the Ambassadors Football. It's called the Churches Football Festival now. I think something which you are wildly dominant in. It must be said. The first time you won it was like 2018, I think. Was it born out of that, or has this just come alongside it?
So the Churches Festival, we only found out about it. Well, I was in year 10, I think. So I would have been around 14, 15, or actually 15, 16, because I was allowed to play. And I just turned 16. And the Marvels, so in Sport Marvels, I'd heard about this tournament. They went the year before. They didn't really enter a team. But the first year that I went back in 2018, we actually went up with a makeshift team full of people from different squads and different churches. And we somehow come out, baffled ourselves, ended up winning the whole thing. And I think from there, it lit something in our boys' heart, in our hearts of this is a place, the ambassadors do a great job because they take so many churches from all around the UK and they have so many people there from different backgrounds. They have people from good backgrounds, bad backgrounds, our backgrounds, people from England, people from Wales. And we've always seen it as a blessing with the lunchtime talks and the different people you get to meet and the different interactions you have with churches from all around the UK. And it's always been an amazing thing that we've gone to. And we do use it a little bit as we have everyone from our church come in. Our football club isn't as blessed to have all the amazing players that we have come on our football tour, as we call it. But we do use it as a way of getting so many boys that we've been in contact with and so many lads that we really care about to have that opportunity to go and listen to people's stories, be around Christians, be in a place where they have Christian people around them, even if they're not all Christians. I know it's a really respectful tournament that everyone is on the same page, everyone's going for the same goal. There's never a kind of thing where there's anything going on that is bad there, and it's always been amazing. And we always take a large group of boys. We take two teams. We have, I think this year, we have about 45 boys who want to play. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge with management. I don't know who's going to want to go on and where. Hopefully I'm not involved with it because I'd have an headache trying to pick who's going to play where. But this year we got 45 boys. We always take at least 50 to 60 people up and we make a weekend of it. We really love the ambassadors football tour because they really do put in a lot of work for it, and it's always been an amazing tournament since we've started going there, and I know it was amazing in tournament before we started going there, and we're just hoping it grows. and grows and gets bigger and bigger, and hopefully we can win it a few more times as time goes on. But the team, it started off as Sporting Marvels FC when we were going there, and then it changed to DCW FC once we started out church. I think we won the lower competition first of all, because we'd go in and we'd enter the lower competition because we had quite young lads. Most of our lads are like 16 to 17, as I said before, 18 and 19 and sometimes. But as time's gone on, and them lads who we've kept in our core have grown older, they still play for clubs like Cambrian and Annecia and even some of them at a higher level now. But the boys who ain't joining DCWFC get the opportunity to kind of put on the shirt of DCWFC, be around us, have the impact that we kind of want to have on all of them every Saturday. And we thought, we see the church league around our area. Why haven't we kind of given it a bit of a go? And we thought we might as well have a shot. We tried to have a shot last year. We actually were too late trying to enter our team. So we put all of our posts up of all of our players last year. And then we were like, uh-oh, we've entered too late. We've got to take them all off. And we've kind of stopped the ball from rolling, and we've rolled it again this year. And thankfully, the league have come back to us in positive messages and said that we've kind of got the green light to go ahead with everything that we have planned for this year. But it was birthed out of that competition, really. Ambassadors did play a massive part in it, with the feeling and the atmosphere that we get from our tournament every year. And that's why we're so big on the National Cup around the UK, because that tour gives us the taste of a big away day to maybe a different place around the Rhondda. And I think our boys just thrive in that atmosphere of being around positive Christian role models as much as they possibly can. And I know it'll be a massive impact on our guys to be surrounded by as many Christians as they possibly can. But Ambassadors tournament, yeah, has been a massive highlight in my footballing career, even while I've played for different teams, and now I'm coming to DCWFC hopefully to succeed in it even more.
I can imagine it has, like you talked about, impact. I can imagine giving those kids the opportunity to get a change of perspective and be in a new place and perhaps see the world in a slightly different way must be really beneficial for them.
Yeah, it's always amazing when we go to that weekend. You have people who were in church and have come on the tour, and then you have people who are involved in our ministry that we work obviously in the schools with our leaders, and they come on in, they haven't had a church background, and you have them mixing with the guys who have been in church and people from other churches, and it's always great to see how then they have a speaker on the dinner time and they're talking about their life, and somehow that life is hand in hand going alongside one of our guys who's going through that at the moment. So then they have the opportunity to go and speak to that person about what they've been through and see how they got through it, so that they can kind of battle through their different experiences. And I think the Ambassadors Tour has always been a really big highlight of our year. We always try to make it as big as possible. I think every year we've got bigger and bigger, and we've tried to do more and more. Like last year we ordered kit, so we made a bit of a tour kit and we got our own kit, so all the boys had the same outfits on. This year we've got even bigger, we've got more kit, and we've got a new playing kit. So it's like we're just getting bigger and bigger, and we're trying to do more and more. We bought flags. We try and make it like a really big weekend, and try and make it a good atmosphere for our boys. And we try to do it in the most respectful way as well. And to be fair to the lads that we take, they're always a really, really good bunch of boys, and they do try their best to be as respectful as possible. And obviously they get a bit rowdy as young lads, but they're always amazing when it comes to at the end of games and being real respectful to everyone that we play against.
And if you could just share a little bit about how you use football as a ministry tool, because obviously, as far as I can tell anyway, Dream Centre seems to be really trying to push beyond the four walls of the church. And I just wondered how football can be used as a tool of ministry.
Our big aim is to get as many young lads into the church as possible. I think that has been the football club is obviously a football club. It's going to be competitive. We're not going to want to go and lose games, but our main aim, the committee, which is a group of 7 of us that have been involved in our church and stuff for a while, sat down, and the first thing that we said was the winning comes second to making sure our young lads have a positive Christian role model in front of them every single weekend. And I think that is the main aim of our football club. And obviously we want to make sure that they're surrounded by positive people as much as they possibly can, because we'll have Wednesdays training, we'll have Saturdays playing, Sunday we do 5 and churches. So it's always a big opportunity for our guys to be around people, and obviously just try to make an impact on their lives in a positive way, try and give them as much insight and as much advice as we can to make sure that they do things in the best possible way. And I think DCWFC has been birthed because we really, really care about the young lads in the Rhondda, and we really, really want them to grow and to benefit from the experiences that we've had in our lives. And obviously, when it comes to the team, we've tried our best to make it so that it's going to be on a Saturday morning in the church league, and that also opens up so many possibilities for our young lads who are at youth level, who would end up playing on a Sunday morning and miss out on church. They'd be able to move to a Saturday morning. They don't have to play on a Sunday morning. The Sunday morning is then free for them to be in church, be in fives, and be in the crews and different things. And it's a lot of things that we're trying to click together and trying to piece together to make it so that we have the best possible opportunity to get around these young lads as much as possible. And even outside of the lads, obviously, when it comes to sports and it comes to church, we want to build a bit of a following where there's boys involved, there's girls involved. They're all coming around to support the same football team, and if we can get as far as maybe a plate final in the league, or a big game against one of the top guys in the league, we'll make a day of it, and we'll make a bit of an atmosphere, and we'll try and make it a bit of a big church thing, and just try and get as many eyes on church football as we can, so we can get as many people into church as we can as well. And I think the main aim is just to give our young lads the best possible opportunity to grow and to be better and more respected men in the area and in the environment that they're in.
I think Christianity and football has a bit of a overlap in terms of teamwork, discipline, and strengthening as human beings. So I'm assuming that's just the general idea, to run those two alongside each other.
Yes, I think there's a bit of a persona that comes with being from the valleys. I think when you have an outsider looking in, it's always easy to see, oh, the Valley boys are rough and tumble, and oh, they're gonna bring a bit of attitude and a bit of nastiness. And I think we just we really wanna kind of change that perspective. I think we've set out to be a team that is really competitive, but also really respectful, and to be really driven in a way of, we want to build something that is known as a Christian football team, not a football team with Christians in it. We want to be known as people who are really, really driven in putting God in front of as many people as we possibly can, but also to have a team that enjoys themselves, and is competitive in everything we do. But our main thing, first and foremost, is to put God first and then let everything else follow, because I think if we do that, we won't go far wrong, even if we're not as competitive as we'd like to be. I think as long as we put God first, he'll handle the rest of it.
And just the final part about the football ministry, you touched upon it, the fives that happens after the church services. Is that more a way to decompress, or is that a way to sort of have conversations you might not otherwise have about what they might have learnt in church that morning?
We use our fives in a lot of ways. It's mostly it's for fun. It's for us to spend a bit more time with our boys. You also get the opportunity, like you said, to have conversations. You're driving from our church to a five-a-side indoor pitch, which is usually about a 10-15 minute drive. And it does give you that opportunity to have conversations with our guys to say, oh, what did you take away from that? What did you learn? How's your week been? What are you going to do this week? And it's always a bit of a door opener in them kind of aspects. And then it does give us a bit of a competitive element. We always do a team of the week. We try our best to make it as fun as possible. The boys are always wanting to be in team of the week. We have a manager as well, so we try and make it a bit more. So if someone picks teams, they stand on the side as managers, and then they have a manager hall of fame of how many wins they've had and stuff. And we just try to make it as enjoyable as possible to just keep the boys in a really close, well knitted group. Because I think the more time you spend around each other, the more open you get, the more conversations you have, and just the better experience you have in everything you do. And I think it's good for them to see that, even as people who they see as older than them, I know a lot of boys see me as someone as a senior in our church now, but I was once in their shoes. I was once there. I don't have everything in my life together, and I think us always trying our best to connect them and be around them as much as we possibly can gives them the insight to realize that we are the same. Everyone is the same. We're all sinners saved by grace, and eventually, if they have something going on, I've probably been through it, or someone has been through it, and they can just ask us the question, and it just gives them that opportunity to be around us, and just that extra opportunity to kind of have that conversation they might need to have at that period of time, whatever it is that they're going through, and gives us the best opportunity to try and help them as much as we possibly can.
And as a whole, the church and the team, is there any major future ambitions besides obviously joining the Churches League? Is there anything else you wish to do, or are you just going to try and build upon it brick by brick, if you like?
I think the first aim is for us to get the team rolling. I think for us to get this team set up on obviously all of the comet systems and everything else that comes with it, for us to play our first competitive game would be massive. I think that'd be an answer to prayer for all of us. But I think the biggest aim is just for an influx of young lads into our church. I think we usually get around mid-20s to our church at the moment, but if that number just continues to rise, I think that's just the answer to prayer that we've been looking for. And I think everything that comes with that then is a bonus. I think the team will grow as the lads grow in church, and I think the team will gain momentum as the lads buy into what we kind of putting out. And I think we've got a lot of plans for our social media, a lot of plans for our team. We have some fun things and some cool stuff that we have planned in the future. And I think we're going to have a really good year as long as we get through that first hurdle of getting the team up and running. And I think then the sky's the limit, really. We'd love to be competitive. We'd love to give it a good go. But the first year is always a trial year. And I think we'll see where we're at. We'll go from there. And then we'll be back next year, definitely, for a bit more of a competitive season.
And clearly, I know I've only been talking to you for what, just over half hour, but to me, it's very clear how much of an impact church has had in your life. If you don't mind just sharing a bit about your own personal faith journey. You mentioned earlier that you weren't raised in a Christian household. So I was just wondering what pushed you towards God and Jesus.
So I was raised in a non-Christian household. Like I said, it was me and my brother at the beginning. My parents split up through a bit of conflict with like different relationships with different people during the time when they were together, and the different ins and outs that come with obviously cheating and different things. And I've just been surrounded by a lot of negative atmospheres as a child. I was always in a bit of a negative environment. I've bounced from house to house, never really lived in a house that I've owned, always been in like rented houses and stuff. So mostly like council estate houses and stuff in them kind of environments. And my outlook was always sports. My way out was always sports. As a youngster, I played football and I used to swim. I swam at a quite competitive level and was quite a good swimmer. And then as football, I've always just played at a decent level, been a half decent centre back, and just got myself through with my height and stuff. But I think the way into church was through Sporting Marvels, and I think when I was in primary school, I got taught by some of the guys who still work here today, and they came in, taught RE lessons, and just made life just a bit of a spark. There was something in them that I looked at and I thought they got something that I need. And when I seen them, I was trying to figure it out. Couldn't figure it out in year 6. Couldn't figure it out in year 7. Went all the way up to year 10. And then eventually, when I got to go to Africa, I had that spark of, oh, I know what they have, and what they had was God. And I think after that period of time, and I started going to church a little bit. I wasn't fully committed. I don't think I was a pure Christian. I think I was a bit of a lukewarm, toe in the water kind of Christian, but I was still doing things I probably shouldn't be doing outside of the church and stuff, and falling into bad habits and ending up in situations that I didn't need to be in. But eventually, over the years of just people surrounding me with positive people and shaving off edges that I've needed, I've grown into someone who can be respected in certain areas. Someone who obviously still needs to grow, but the church has had a massive impact on my life in massive ways, just by surrounding me with people who have given me grace, given me honest advice. They haven't told me what I want to hear. They've told me what I need to hear. And I think that's always been something that I've needed, a bit of tough love in certain areas, and try their best to kind of shave me down to become someone who can go and impact people through my mess. I think I've learned a lot through reading the Bible and stuff, that God uses everything that He done for your good. And I've realised that my mess can impact so many young guys around the Rhondda and around the valleys, and if I just choose to live in the right way, that they'll come to me with their issues, and when they need me, I'll be there, and even when they don't need me, I'll be there. And I think that's just something that I've grown to learn, and grown to love. I love being someone who people come to with their problems, and I have just the slightest bit of answer. And if I don't have it, then God will have it, because I'll ask Him and He'll give me something to tell Him. And I think that's been a massive part of my life, and continues to be a massive part of my life, and it's blessed me in so many ways over the past couple of years, and continues to bless me today.
And what an experience. I know you mentioned about the impact of going to Tanzania at the age of 16, but it must have been quite life changing. And did you find that really accelerated you giving yourself over to God?
Yeah, I think when I first went out there, I was in church, but I wasn't in it. I was kind of, like I said, the lukewarm, kind of dabbling and seeing what I liked and what I didn't like. And I think going out there and just seeing how much they didn't have, but how much they trusted God to bring everything that they needed. And I think that's where I realized that I need to stop worrying about stuff that I can't control. They don't worry about stuff that they can't control. They worry about the stuff that they can't control, and then everything else they pass over to God. And that experience changed my life massively. It's one of the experiences that I'll never ever regret going on. And I've said to so many people, they ask me about how much it costs and different things to go out there, and obviously it is an expensive trip, but I'd pay double that to go and experience what I experienced and to get back what I got from that country. And I think going out there for a volunteers and a ministry type based trip and realizing that that place give me more than I give it was something that I'll never take for granted, and I'll continue to go there as much as I possibly can until my days come to an end and I can't go anymore.
And is there a particular moment that you can think of where you think, yeah, that's a real sort of God moment? Sorry, I've started using the expression God moment a lot because I talked to the West Ham chaplain and he used that word a lot and I quite like it. So, yeah, is there anything you can look back on and think, yeah, he was really working there in my life?
I think I had the opportunity when we most recently went. On my first time I went, we helped build a church, and then we left and it was just a shell. It had a roof and just some pillars on the outside. My second time we went, the church actually had a building, stones, and obviously an entrance and stuff when we opened it. And then this time we went, I actually had the opportunity to preach in that church and speak about my testimony and speak about who I'd become. And I felt like I grew as the church grew. From that young guy, 16, 17, it was just a shell. And then the next time I went, I was a bit more of an adult, and the church was built and it was there. And then this time, I was someone who was able to be respected enough to go up and talk about all of my wrongdoings, who I am, how it's changed me, and what I'm going to become and what I'm going to be in the future. And I think that was kind of a full circle moment going there and being able to preach in front of people older than me, people younger than me, guys on the trip who came with us, people who had been on the trip before who took me, and just kind of show them an honest version of me that not many people had heard. And even to people who didn't speak the same language as me, they understood what I was saying, and they heard what I had to say, and it was just a really, really big God moment for me, especially when it comes to that place. And I'll hold that day very, very close to my heart in how grateful I am for that place.
What's really struck me as you're talking about it's a wonderful thing. It keeps getting passed down to generations, this life changing thing. And, you know, you're doing that now. Can you share a little? I know it's hard to sort of sum up, but just the impact that Dream Centre, Sporting Marvels, and your faith has had on your life.
I think I can't put into words the impact the place has had on me. I think if I was to put it into a sentence, I don't think it'd sum up what I needed to say to obviously put it into perspective how much of an impact it's had on me. But the place has changed me in a way and given me an opportunity that not many other places would have given me. I think at points in my journey as a person, I've been someone who's disrespected people. I've been someone who's disrespected myself. I've been someone who have thrown people to the curb, who have tried to help me. I've been someone who's denied advice. I've been someone who's done all of the things that it tells you not to do, and all of the things that the Bible tells you not to do. And I've come back groveling on my hands and knees, and they've told me to get up and dust myself off and brought me back in open arms and said, we've all been it. And I think Sport and Marvels, Dream Centre Wales, and Heart for Africa have been places that have just changed things in me that other people just don't get the opportunity to have. And I think that's why Dream Centre Wales FC is something that I'm so passionate about, is the fact that I want so many young lads to have the opportunity that I've had, to know that even when they're at the bottom, that they're not done, because the only way is up. And I think even when you're down and out, the only way to get out of that situation is to get up and keep going. Because if you stay here, you're going to stay here forever. And I think that's what it's taught me, is that no one's perfect. The only person who was Jesus. And obviously he died for our sins, knowing that we were going to do the things that we were going to do. and they've given me an insight into my life to know that I can come back from all of the things I've done. I can be someone who is well respected in my field of people, and I do have a purpose. And I think that's been the main thing that I've learned from life is through these places is people who don't have purpose, they perish. And I think as long as you have a purpose, you know where you're going, and you know what you need to do. And I think purpose has been the thing that has added to my life, mostly.
I'll finish with this one. Still trying to decide whether this is a good question or an absolutely awful question. Is there a particular Bible verse or quote that you particularly like?
I'd probably say my favorite Bible verse at the moment is the Bible verse on our football kit. It's Proverbs 27:17. It's as iron sharpens iron, a friend sharpens a friend. And I think that's been a story of my journey as a whole. I could pinpoint a few different Bible verses, but I think that one is a key when it comes to Christians today. Is if you have good friends around you, you will succeed. And I think you will become the person you spend your most time with. And I've heard so many people say, if you show me your circles, I'll show you your future and different things. And I think that's what we're building this football team on is we'll have a group of people who are so intertwined and so friendly and so built on good morals and good and respectful morals that hopefully, even if we don't win in football terms, we'll win in life terms. And I think that's our main aim is we'll win off the field, even if we don't win on the field.
This is the any other business section. So if there's anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up, please feel free.
You can find us on our Instagram page, DCWFC. But I think other than that, hopefully we can succeed in everything else we do. But thank you very much for having me, and I've really enjoyed it.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I think, yeah, your story is absolutely inspiring. And I think the work that Dream Centre seems to be doing in the Rhondda is really quite something and something that not only yourself, but the whole church should be incredibly proud of. I think it's wonderful stuff. As Kieran mentioned, you can find out about the church at dreamcentrewales.com. You can find them on Instagram, d.c.w.fc. God, I pronounce that terribly on Instagram, or you can find them as Dream Centre Wales FC on Facebook. If you feel inclined, you can follow me at Saturday Service Football on Instagram and Facebook and at Faith and Footy on Instagram. Head to livestreams.org.uk to find out more about my own wonderful church. Yeah, Kieran, really good to talk to you and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.